Well, this comes to the next question that I was going to ask, and it's been touched upon particularly by Terry and I think by you, Michael, also. And that's, should the CCRC have the power to investigate systems or individual errors by prosecutors and or other legal actors, and then, presuming they can or should, what should the accountability look like? And so I'll open that up to the panel. And I mean, perhaps, Terry, you have a view of accountability, which I think is further justified.
I'll be very short with mine. But I recently had a decision made in a court which failed dismally, in the sense that the restorative justice wasn't there, and it didn't have that much impact upon me personally, because I didn't expect nothing. However, where it did impact me was for the people I met inside over 5 years, 1,671 days. But all of those people, all of their family, their kids, that's what it hurt me. I thought, how are these people going to be encouraged to speak up when they see the wrong, to claim their innocence in a loud, clear voice? How is that going to happen? The police were issued a $20,000 fine as a deterrent for doing verbals and creating a wrongful conviction. $20,000 fine.
Well, I'm unaware of any case where a police officer has been charged with an offence following the verbal, following the manufacturing of evidence, and following the consequences that you've faced.
The evidence does exist. I took the advice of the Attorney General. I wrote to the CJC. They exonerated, or they cleared the police. That said there was nothing to see here.
Sometimes they give them a promotion.
Well,
there is no acknowledgement, and I think that's the bit that, you know. And as for finality, well, I'm pretty sure Terry will agree with this. There isn't any from our end of the view. You know, I said it might be, okay, the court goes bang with a gavel, that's done. I said, but, you know, I'm like, you know, Terry, all the people that have been affected shockingly with a ripple effect from trying to help me, there's no finality for them. They've all been, you know, a lot of us are suffering our mental health issues from trying to deal with it all. I said it's an ongoing thing. I said, so the finality, when you take it from our side, is not there. It'll never be there. You know, I said, so if a CCRC, and we can put one together that helps make that word mean more, you know, that would be impressive for me, you know, sort of thing. So
you have a parallel system of investigation broadly and then for individuals, which is...
I would see, you don't want to saddle CCRC with all the problems of the world. I think that it's important, its critical issue is to address wrongful convictions of the individual in the same way as, and I'm thinking of an analogy of a coroner addressing the reasons, cause of death of a person, generally makes finding concerning that individual case, but has the power to refer on recommendations or suggestions that may be made to external agencies about the systemic or perhaps the other issues that are really beyond the scope of the coroner. In much the same way as judges also will refer criminal cases that may emerge, for instance, perjury during a court trial. Judges can and do refer cases of perjury to the DPP. So I think it's, rather than investigate themselves, I think you're just setting them up for failure. I think the best way is to allow that recommendatory facility to report to other bodies for their own investigation.
You do tend to have a repetition of failures in these types of cases.
Yeah, and I'm sure the annual report will be a vehicle. Whether the annual report is read or acted on, well, is another question.
Can Can I add to that as well? I think there needs to be a cultural change for openness about looking at errors. In other areas, they do this. So in aviation, in medicine, they do sentinel reviews where they look at accidents that have happened. There's a whole area of literature called the learning from errors literature coming out of organizational systems theory. And the idea is that you learn from your accidents, you learn from these mistakes and these breakdowns, but you need a culture that is willing to look at that, look at structural barriers, look at the challenges, not just pinpoint on bad apples. There are bad apples, of course, in every case, but in order for us to prevent future wrongful convictions, for us to prevent these cases, is actually to change things in a structural way and identify what those are. So that's what I would say. If you want accountability, then go to the system and try to change that system at that structural level, but have everybody come to the table kind of willing to accept and acknowledge the error. Like, I think that's a big problem when it comes to the wrongfully convicted, and I know we'll talk about this with compensation, but when you're looking at ex gratia payments that are out of grace, right, like they are discretionary payments, there's no accountability in that, right? Like there's no one is, you can be, and in the research that I've done, you can be awarded an ex gratia payment with no reason. You could be awarded it for just your better health, or they actually say, yes, gross misconduct has been done to you, we accept that and do that, but that's very rare. So where is that accountability for the whole system? It's frustrating as researchers, frustrating as lived experience.